The steady beep of the heart monitor echoed through the intensive care unit, breaking the silence. I am Cynthia, a 30-year-old supply chain manager sitting beside my father's hospital bed, exhausted as I watch him lie motionless. He is breathing through an oxygen tube after a heart condition relapse just a few hours earlier. A nurse walked in, checking the IV bags and the monitor. She glanced down the hallway, then leaned closer to me and spoke in a low voice. "Go home right now and check the cameras, trust me." Her words made me freeze. I realized I needed to find out what was really happening without drawing attention. I quickly gathered my things and left. My hands trembled slightly as I held my car keys, unease growing during the drive home to review the footage. That night, as I watched the video, I was shocked to recognize a very familiar face appearing in the frame. Setting clear boundaries helps us protect our self-respect when facing difficult situations. At the same time, growth requires us to make hard decisions in order to see the truth clearly. How would you handle discovering such a painful truth in your life? Share your perspective, current local time and city below. 6 months before that fateful night, our family dining room hosted a remarkably joyous evening filled with genuine laughter. My father sat at the head of the large oak table, looking healthier than he had in several years, while raising his glass for a special toast. He officially announced his finalized decision to hand over the entire management of the family joint trust to my brother, Bradley. Dad expressed profound confidence that Bradley possessed the right business acumen to manage the assets wisely to secure our financial stability for decades to come. We all celebrated that significant milestone together by sharing a wonderful meal under the assumption that our family bond remained completely unbreakable. Bradley promised to handle the financial responsibilities with the utmost transparency and care for the long-term benefit of everyone involved. The entire situation took a rather strange turn exactly 4 months after that celebratory dinner. Bradley and his wife Veronica packed up their personal belongings to permanently move into my father's spacious house in Orlando. They presented this sudden relocation to the family as a noble sacrifice, while claiming they needed to monitor his daily health more conveniently. I initially appreciated their willingness to step up as his primary caregivers, since my demanding corporate job kept me constantly occupied during the weekdays. However, that initial sense of gratitude quickly dissolved into deep suspicion once their true behavioral patterns began emerging over the following weeks. I started noticing obvious anomalies almost immediately when my regular evening phone calls to my father became increasingly scarce. Whenever I dialed the familiar home number during my lunch breaks, Bradley or Veronica consistently managed to answer the receiver before the third ring. They actively positioned themselves as an impenetrable wall, blocking any direct communication between my father and me. I would politely request to speak with him just to hear his voice and verify his current well-being. They always countered my simple requests with the exact same rehearsed excuse regarding his current physical condition. Veronica would lower her voice to insist he was experiencing severe fatigue requiring absolute rest in his upstairs bedroom. Bradley would occasionally take the phone from her hands to claim Dad had just fallen into a deep sleep after taking his prescribed medication. They would abruptly terminate the conversation with a quick goodbye before I could ask any further questions about his specific symptoms or upcoming doctor appointments. This isolating routine continued for weeks, while my internal unease slowly transformed into a heavy knot of genuine concern. I actually tried dropping by unannounced on 2 separate occasions, but found the front security gate firmly locked while nobody answered the repeated doorbell rings. That specific pattern of deliberate isolation brings us directly to the events of that afternoon. I was sitting at my office desk attempting to review a massive stack of complex supply chain documents before an approaching corporate deadline. The sudden ringing of my personal cell phone broke my intense concentration to deliver a completely unexpected message. A medical staff member from the local hospital emergency room informed me my father had just been admitted due to a severe heart condition relapse. They stated his vital signs were currently unstable and urged me to arrive at the medical facility immediately to speak with the attending physician. A sudden wave of pure panic washed over my entire body upon hearing those terrifying words from the medical professional. I immediately abandoned all my pending legal contracts scattered across the desk without bothering to notify my department supervisor about my sudden departure. I frantically grabbed my purse along with my car keys from the bottom drawer while sprinting straight toward the main elevator bank. My mind raced through 100 different terrifying medical scenarios while I navigated the busy office corridors to reach the ground floor exit. I pushed through the heavy glass lobby doors and ran directly toward my designated spot in the company parking lot. My hands shook violently as I fumbled to unlock the vehicle doors before throwing myself into the driver's seat. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal to speed toward the medical center, while desperately praying I would not arrive too late to see him alive. 30 minutes after receiving that alarming phone call, I forcefully pushed open the heavy emergency room doors. I sprinted down the brightly lit hospital corridor while desperately scanning the crowded waiting area for any familiar faces. My eyes quickly locked onto Bradley and Veronica standing casually against the painted hallway wall near the reception desk. They were both staring intently at their glowing smartphone screens, with a completely relaxed demeanor that contradicted the situation. Neither of them displayed even a fraction of the frantic worry that had consumed my entire drive to the hospital. Bradley finally looked up from his mobile device when my rapid footsteps echoed loudly across the polished tile floor. He casually slipped the phone into his jacket pocket before offering an incredibly dismissive explanation regarding our father. "Dad is just experiencing a little fatigue from an old illness flaring up, so the doctor assured us it is nothing too serious." I stood there completely paralyzed by his indifferent tone while trying to process the massive discrepancy between his words and the emergency call. Veronica immediately checked her designer wristwatch before claiming they had an unexpected business emergency requiring their immediate attention at the office. They both turned their backs to me without waiting for any further discussion and hastily walked toward the main exit. The sound of their retreating footsteps echoed through the quiet corridor as they practically ran away from their familial responsibilities. Their rapid departure left my father completely abandoned in a vulnerable medical state, while they prioritized their supposed corporate duties. I slowly approached the intensive care unit and pushed the wooden door open to finally see my father lying there. The stark reality of his critical medical condition stood in sharp contrast to the superficial explanation Bradley had just provided. Multiple clear plastic tubes connected his frail body to various humming medical devices monitoring his dangerously erratic heart rate. A deep wave of profound sorrow washed over me as I gently held his cold hand between my warm palms. That initial sadness quickly mutated into a growing sense of intense suspicion regarding the sequence of events leading to his collapse. They left the hospital so incredibly fast without even bothering to ask how bad his condition got during the night. I muttered those words out loud to the empty room while glaring at the closed door where they had just exited. The mathematical impossibility of their timeline started forming a dark picture in my mind regarding their true intentions. Nina approached the bedside quietly to adjust the fluid levels on the intravenous drip hanging above my father. She meticulously checked the digital numbers flashing across the main medical monitor before turning her full attention toward me. Her eyes darted toward the hallway window to ensure nobody was lingering outside the room listening to our private conversation. She stepped deliberately closer to my chair and firmly reiterated the cryptic warning she had whispered to me earlier. "You need to leave this hospital right now to review the security footage because the truth is hidden in your house." That direct confirmation from a medical professional acted as the final catalyst to ignite my dormant suspicions into immediate action. The scattered puzzle pieces of blocked phone calls and dismissive attitudes suddenly aligned to form a truly terrifying hypothesis. I turned to Nina with a renewed sense of urgent determination and directly asked her a crucial favor. "Please monitor my father extremely closely while I am gone, and do not allow anyone else to enter this room." She nodded her head in silent agreement while crossing her arms to physically block the pathway to his bed. My hand tightly gripped the metal car keys inside my jacket pocket until the sharp edges bit into my skin. Turning sharply on my heels allowed me to walk briskly out of the hospital to uncover the dark secrets they were hiding. The cool evening air hit my face as I marched toward the parking lot with a singular focus on finding the truth. My mind formulated a clear plan of action while my rapid strides carried me closer to my parked vehicle. That midnight, my car tires screeched loudly against the concrete surface of the familiar driveway leading toward our family garage. I retrieved my spare personal key from my pocket to quietly unlock the heavy wooden front door without triggering any alarm sensors. The house remained dark as I navigated the silent hallways leading directly toward my father's private home office. I bypassed his massive mahogany desk to reach the concealed control room containing the hidden security camera system he installed many years prior. My fingers trembled slightly while typing the administrative password into the main computer terminal to access the encrypted local storage drive. I specifically selected the video files recorded over the past 3 days to understand what exactly transpired before his sudden collapse. The glowing monitor illuminated the dark room as the first piece of incriminating footage started playing on the digital screen. I watched in absolute horror as the recorded video clearly showed Veronica sneaking into my father's bedroom, holding a small plastic container. She moved with calculated precision to open his daily pill organizer, sitting right next to his glass of drinking water on the nightstand. Veronica swiftly removed his prescribed heart medication pills to replace them with different unknown capsules from her hidden container. Bradley stood casually near the bedroom doorway, acting as a lookout while ignoring his own father sleeping defenselessly nearby. The audio recording captured their hushed conversation perfectly as Bradley urged his wife to complete the malicious task much faster. Hurry up and swap them because a few more days of this medication will naturally exhaust the old man's heart. Hearing those exact cruel words fall from his mouth forced a sickening wave of genuine nausea deep into my stomach. I immediately stopped the video playback to sprint out of the hidden office straight toward the spacious main kitchen area. My hands frantically pulled out the large stainless steel trash bin to search for any physical evidence linking them to the crime. I desperately dug through various discarded food wrappers before noticing a crumpled grocery bag shoved forcefully into the very bottom corner. Pulling that dirty plastic bag aside finally revealed the original prescription pill bottle emptied of its life-saving contents. I grabbed the empty medical container tightly in my right hand, recognizing it as the ultimate undeniable proof of their sinister plot. The sudden loud ringing of my mobile phone instantly shattered the quiet atmosphere echoing through the empty kitchen space. I pulled the device from my coat pocket to see Veronica's name flashing brightly across the digital caller identification screen. Taking a very deep breath helped me suppress my overwhelming rage before pressing the green button to accept her incoming call. Her voice sounded remarkably aggressive while demanding an immediate explanation regarding my current absence from the hospital waiting room. She interrogated my exact location with deep suspicion, masking her obvious fear of being discovered during their critical timeline. I forced my voice to remain steady and natural while feeding her a perfectly constructed excuse to avoid raising any alarms. I only ran out to purchase some personal items and a midnight snack, so I will return to the hospital right now. Veronica abruptly terminated the phone call without asking any questions about my father's current medical status. I placed the smartphone back into my pocket before rushing back to the hidden control room to secure the digital evidence. I transferred the entire block of security footage onto a portable flash drive to ensure the authorities would see everything clearly. After removing the portable storage device, I executed a system command to erase my access history from the main computer logs. I turned off the monitor to plunge the room back into darkness before locking the office door securely behind me. Gripping the empty pill bottle firmly inside my jacket gave me a profound sense of determination to protect my vulnerable father. I retraced my steps through the silent house to exit through the front door, locking it perfectly to maintain their false security. My feet carried me rapidly across the concrete driveway toward my parked vehicle to drive straight back to the medical center. At exactly 8 o'clock the following morning, I sat directly across the polished oak desk belonging to our family lawyer, Mr. Gallagher. I decisively placed the portable flash drive containing the copied security footage alongside the empty prescription pill bottle directly onto his immaculate workspace. I firmly instructed Mr. Gallagher to immediately leverage his extensive professional network to conduct a comprehensive background investigation into the personal financial records belonging to Bradley and Veronica. Please thoroughly investigate all their bank accounts along with any outstanding debts acquired over the past 6 months, because I strongly suspect they are hiding a truly horrific secret. Mr. Gallagher recognized the profound gravity etched across my face and immediately paused his other scheduled legal consultations to prioritize my urgent request. He carefully plugged the small storage device into his secure computer terminal to review the disturbing footage I had successfully extracted from the house. Watching the undeniably clear video evidence of the medication swap caused his professional demeanor to shift into a state of visible alarm. He quickly picked up his office telephone to contact several private forensic accountants capable of accessing restricted banking databases across the state. I waited anxiously inside his private office while reviewing the empty pill bottle again to pass the time during those incredibly tense hours. Only a few hours later, Mr. Gallagher returned to his desk, carrying a thick stack of freshly printed legal documents containing the grim results of his rapid investigation. He spread the various financial statements across the wooden surface to reveal the absolute devastation Bradley had secretly orchestrated behind our backs. The detailed paperwork provided undeniable proof that his supposedly thriving business had actually suffered a catastrophic bankruptcy several months prior. Their total financial collapse forced them to borrow a massive sum of money from dangerous underground credit organizations charging exorbitant interest rates. Mr. Gallagher sorted through the chaotic banking ledgers to show me exactly how many missed payments had accumulated since their initial loan agreement. He specifically noted several massive cash withdrawals, confirming the funds were transferred directly into untraceable accounts to hide their illegal activities. The most terrifying aspect of this entire financial revelation emerged when he highlighted the specific dates printed on the official insolvency declarations. The exact moment their company officially lost all ability to pay its creditors coincided perfectly with the specific week they suddenly volunteered to move into my father's house. They had disguised their desperate need for free housing and proximity to his wealth under the false pretense of providing dedicated elderly care. Mr. Gallagher pointed a rigid finger toward a severely depleted bank statement linked directly to the primary account established during that joyful family dinner. The family joint trust has already been completely drained by him, so their next obvious target is your father's remaining personal estate. A violent shudder traveled down my spine as the complete picture of their deeply sinister motivation finally materialized before my eyes. I realized the true purpose behind swapping the prescribed heart medication was to intentionally accelerate my father's physical decline until his inevitable passing. They desperately needed him to die as quickly as possible to legally inherit the remaining properties and liquid assets listed in his original will. Gaining immediate control over his personal estate was their only viable strategy to satisfy the ruthless underworld lenders threatening their lives over the unpaid debts. They essentially placed a literal price tag on his life to save themselves from facing the severe consequences of their own reckless financial failures. I requested him to immediately draft all necessary legal paperwork required to officially revoke any remaining financial authority Bradley possessed over our family assets. I gathered the copied financial documents into a secure folder while silently vowing to protect him from their ruthless greed at all costs. The undeniable evidence resting inside my hands transformed my previous feelings of familial betrayal into a cold determination to completely destroy their malicious agenda. I thanked Mr. Gallagher for his rapid assistance before taking the heavy folder to prepare for the inevitable confrontation waiting at the hospital. That evening, I stepped back into the incredibly quiet hospital room belonging to my vulnerable father. I experienced a profound sense of emotional relief upon discovering he had successfully passed the critical medical stage earlier that afternoon. He was slowly opening his tired eyes to cautiously observe the surrounding medical equipment despite his severely weakened physical state. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor confirmed his vital signs were finally stabilizing after the terrifying ordeal caused by the incorrect pills. He turned his head slightly toward the doorway to acknowledge my presence with a very faint but deeply comforting smile. My best friend Sarah quietly pushed the wooden door open to deliver a warm container of freshly prepared dinner. She gently patted my tense shoulder to encourage my physical endurance during this incredibly stressful family crisis. Sarah specifically avoided asking any intrusive questions regarding his specific medical condition to respect our boundaries. She immediately turned around to exit the room completely to provide us with absolute conversational privacy. Her brief, supportive visit gave me the necessary emotional strength to proceed with the difficult upcoming discussion. I placed the plastic food container onto the small visitor table without any intention of eating the meal right away. I deliberately walked toward the entrance to firmly secure the heavy metal lock on the hospital room door to prevent any unwanted interruptions. Approaching his bedside allowed me to gently hold his fragile hand while tearfully recounting the entire cruel reality I had just uncovered. I carefully retrieved my mobile phone from my jacket pocket to play the extracted security footage directly in front of his resting face. I also verbally detailed the shocking financial documents Mr. Gallagher had verified regarding the catastrophic business bankruptcy destroying their lives. He watched the digital screen intently as the undeniable video evidence of the medication swap played out before his very eyes. The clear footage of Veronica replacing the vital pills while Bradley stood guard forced a heavy silence into the sterile medical room. He stared at the glowing phone screen for a long time while attempting to process the immense betrayal committed by his own flesh. I could never have imagined the children I completely trusted with my assets would so heartlessly trade my life just for money. The initial devastation clouding his aged features rapidly transformed into a cold expression of absolute, decisive fury. He firmly grasped my wrist with unexpected strength to strictly prohibit me from contacting local law enforcement about the attempted murder. My father vehemently refused to allow our humiliating family scandal to become front-page gossip across the local newspaper publications. He wanted to handle the ultimate betrayal internally, rather than relying on the traditional criminal justice system to punish their horrific actions. His breathing remained remarkably steady as he processed the harsh reality of their malicious intentions toward his personal estate. There is no need to call the police right now because we will personally force them to pay the most authentic and ruthless price for their greed. The two of us spent the next several hours whispering back and forth to meticulously formulate a detailed countermeasure in the dark room. We needed to systematically expose the true malicious faces belonging to Bradley and Veronica before they could successfully liquidate any remaining properties. I explained the necessary legal steps required to permanently sever their access to the joint trust accounts using our trusted lawyer. Our strategic conversation focused on leveraging his upcoming discharge from the medical facility to orchestrate a perfect psychological trap. We finalized the intricate steps required to legally strip them of all financial power during an upcoming fake family celebration. He instructed me to contact Mr. Gallagher first thing the following morning to finalize the newly revised inheritance documents. We spent the remainder of the night solidifying every single detail of our defensive strategy to ensure their total financial ruin. Later that exact weekend, a hospital wheelchair carried my father through the sliding glass exit doors to finally return home. Upon arriving at the familiar residence, he immediately began complaining about experiencing severe physical fatigue from the lengthy medical ordeal. He called everyone into the main living room to officially announce his intention to host a special family dinner this upcoming Sunday. My father explicitly stated his desire to finalize his last will much earlier than anyone had previously anticipated. My health seems to be failing significantly lately, so perhaps it is finally time I arrange and hand over everything clearly in writing. Bradley completely failed to hide the greedy excitement flashing across his face upon hearing that specific financial announcement. Veronica quickly offered to prepare an extravagant meal to celebrate his supposed recovery while secretly anticipating their impending financial windfall. They spent the entire weekend acting incredibly attentive while masking their desperate need to access his personal estate. Right in the middle of that anticipated Sunday dinner, Mr. Gallagher knocked firmly on the heavy wooden front door precisely on schedule. The experienced lawyer walked into the dining room with a highly serious expression while carrying his locked leather briefcase. He approached the large dining table to deliberately place the freshly printed legal documents right in front of my father. Bradley stared at the thick stack of inheritance papers with extreme eagerness radiating from his wide eyes. The undeniable tension inside the room escalated rapidly as Mr. Gallagher carefully extracted the final version of the revised will. Bradley practically lunged forward to grab the legal documents from the table to eagerly read every single printed line. He rapidly scanned the official paragraphs detailing the exact distribution of all remaining family properties alongside the liquid banking assets. The arrogant smile completely vanished from his face as his skin turned absolutely pale within a matter of seconds. He realized with absolute horror that his specific name had been entirely removed from the inheritance distribution list. The undeniable reality of being completely disinherited caused him to slam the thick papers back onto the dining table. "What the hell are you doing right now, because I am not receiving a single penny in this damn will?" He shouted those disrespectful words directly at our father, while his face flushed with a mixture of rage and profound confusion. Veronica rushed over to inspect the legal documents herself to confirm the devastating financial reality destroying their sinister plans. My father remained seated at the head of the table while maintaining an incredibly calm demeanor despite the aggressive shouting. He simply raised his right hand to give me a subtle signal to execute the final phase of our defensive strategy. I immediately grabbed the television remote control to turn on the large flat-screen monitor mounted on the living room wall. I pressed the play button to broadcast the extremely crisp security footage I had extracted from the hidden surveillance system. The massive television screen prominently displayed Veronica sneaking into the bedroom to maliciously swap the prescribed heart medication. The high-definition audio recording echoed clearly through the silent dining room, exposing their exact cruel conversation from that night. Bradley and Veronica completely collapsed onto the hardwood floor as the undeniable digital evidence destroyed their entire fabricated reality. They both dropped down to their knees while sobbing uncontrollably to beg my father for immediate forgiveness. Veronica desperately attempted to grab his pant leg while shouting pathetic excuses about their overwhelming underworld debt driving them to desperation. My father forcefully pulled his leg away from her grasp before firmly pointing his rigid finger directly toward the front door. He decisively ordered both of them to vacate the premises immediately without allowing them to pack any personal belongings whatsoever. They attempted to plead their case one last time, but his uncompromising glare silenced their pathetic cries for mercy. I stood firmly beside his chair as the two exposed criminals finally dragged themselves out of the house into the dark night. A few weeks after that dramatic eviction night, the severe financial consequences finally hit them in a truly brutal manner. Being thrown out with completely empty hands prevented Bradley and Veronica from accessing any remaining family funds. The dangerous underground creditors immediately tracked down their temporary location to aggressively demand full payment for the outstanding business loans. The major banks simultaneously initiated official legal procedures to aggressively repossess their luxury vehicles alongside their remaining personal assets. Their official credit scores collapsed completely beyond any hope of future recovery due to the overwhelming mountain of unpaid debt. They were pushed into an absolute corner, forcing them to relocate into a terribly dilapidated motel situated on the outskirts. The exposed criminals spent their miserable days hiding from ruthless debt collectors while performing incredibly strenuous manual labor for meals. We received a final legal confirmation from Mr. Gallagher, stating their names were permanently removed from every single financial document. I officially packed up my downtown apartment belongings to permanently move back into the spacious family residence with my father. Organizing the familiar household items allowed me to establish a much healthier environment dedicated entirely to his ongoing physical recovery. I focused my entire mental energy on ensuring his daily medical needs were perfectly met without any malicious outside interference. The local pharmacy delivered his authentic heart medication directly to our front door under my strict personal supervision every month. We spent those quiet weeks actively healing from the profound emotional trauma inflicted by the people we had previously trusted. Establishing those incredibly strict personal boundaries protected our vulnerable family unit from ever experiencing that specific type of manipulation again. Rebuilding our shattered domestic life required immense patience, but the complete absence of their toxic presence made the process easier. We actively replaced the bitter memories of their ultimate betrayal with newly established routines centered around genuine care and respect. My father slowly regained his physical strength by taking daily supervised walks around the secure neighborhood under the bright sun. Taking complete control over the household management allowed me to properly evaluate the immense psychological growth I had recently experienced. I transformed from a passive sibling into a fierce protector willing to confront undeniable evil lurking within my own family. The terrifying hospital warning completely shattered my previous naive assumptions regarding the inherent goodness of our closely related biological relatives. I learned the incredibly difficult lesson that blind trust often provides malicious individuals with the perfect opportunity to strike unexpectedly. Protecting my vulnerable father required me to discard my polite hesitation to decisively enforce the necessary protective barriers around us. We completely changed all the residential security codes while upgrading the external surveillance cameras to ensure absolute physical safety moving forward. Every single defensive action I took reinforced my personal commitment to prioritizing our collective well-being above any toxic obligations. The late afternoon atmosphere felt significantly more peaceful than ever before as my father and I sat together outside today. We comfortably shared a warm pot of herbal tea on the front porch while appreciating the profound silence surrounding us. He looked remarkably healthier with a genuine smile replacing the constant look of physical exhaustion he previously carried every day. Witnessing his miraculous physical recovery proved that removing chronic emotional stress drastically improves overall medical outcomes for vulnerable elderly patients. We successfully survived a terrifying domestic nightmare by choosing to confront the undeniable truth rather than ignoring the clear signs. Protecting his vulnerable life forced me to permanently sever all remaining emotional ties with the toxic individuals sharing our bloodline. I looked across the meticulously maintained front lawn, realizing that true family requires genuine loyalty instead of mere biological connection. The soothing evening breeze confirmed our difficult decision to permanently expel their dangerous greed had successfully restored our stolen tranquility. Our home finally transformed back into a completely safe sanctuary, filled only with authentic love and undeniable mutual protection forever. Before we conclude today's intense narrative, please do not click away just yet, because this situation offers invaluable perspective. Our channel deliberately produces these specific stories to provide profound educational value regarding the critical importance of establishing rigid personal boundaries. We constantly aim to clearly demonstrate how individuals can successfully navigate severe domestic crises using logical reasoning alongside proper legal channels to protect themselves. Evaluating the specific actions taken reveals exactly how decisively the protagonist protected her vulnerable father from a truly fatal betrayal. She intelligently utilized undeniable physical evidence to permanently sever all biological ties with the malicious individuals threatening their absolute safety. The exposed villains ultimately suffered the exact devastating financial consequences naturally generated by their own incredibly selfish and highly criminal decisions. The most profound lesson we must extract from this situation involves recognizing that biological connections never automatically guarantee genuine loyalty. Toxic individuals will frequently weaponize familial obligations to mask their dangerous greed while manipulating your natural compassion for their personal gain. You must prioritize your own self-respect by maintaining the absolute courage to permanently remove anyone who actively compromises your fundamental safety. Another crucial takeaway highlights the necessity of confronting uncomfortable truths immediately rather than ignoring suspicious behaviors exhibited by those closest to you. Gathering concrete evidence before initiating a major confrontation prevents manipulative abusers from successfully twisting the narrative to escape their justified consequences. Establishing impenetrable boundaries represents a necessary act of profound self-preservation rather than a display of unnecessary cruelty toward your relatives. True healing can only begin after you decisively purge the negative influences deliberately poisoning your domestic environment with their selfish agendas. You hold the ultimate authority to define exactly who deserves access to your life based entirely on their consistent actions and genuine respect. We sincerely appreciate every single viewer who patiently remained with us until the very conclusion of this emotional journey. Your continuous support allows us to keep sharing these impactful domestic narratives with our growing community. How would you have personally handled uncovering such a terrifying medical conspiracy involving your own trusted family members? Please take a moment to share your honest thoughts regarding the situation in the comments below.